So, to be honest with you, I'm not impressed, and it's looking like he can't beat a Johnny Gonzalez in a rematch. And I'm talking about, and I understand that may seem a little critical. I'm talking about Abner Mares, who was now 29-1-1 with 15 KOs. He defeated today a guy by the name of Arturo Santos Reyes, who just so happens to only have 5 KOs to not cause too much trouble for the rebuilding Abner Mares, but is also a former sparring partner of Abner Mares, and we've seen this happen with Leo Santa Cruz, who was also an Haymon fighter multiple times. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. So, put it this way. I believe, if I'm correct, it was something like 98, 93. Basically, long story short is, toward the second half of the fight, Santos Reyes was doing a little bit too much damage to a guy like Abner Mares, who was supposed to look good and stop a guy like Arturo Santos Reyes, if you get what I'm saying. And now I'm thinking to myself, well, this is now your third tune-up fight back. A guy by the name of Oquendo, I keep forgetting how to pronounce his name. That was on the undercard of Canelo versus Lara. Then he fought Jose Ramirez, and now he's fighting. And now he fought this guy, Arturo Santos Reyes. So I'm thinking, well, you fought on PBC, on NBC Sports, and I'm going to get to that. And basically, your next fight is supposed to be a big fight. So now what? Another tune-up fight? So this is what they do. All right. So since it was a national televised card, that means that they had to be over. The broadcast had to be over 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And wherever you are, whether you're in LA, then subtract 3 hours from that. And whether you're in the Midwest, subtract the hour, whatever the case may be. But they had to make sure that the event was over at a certain amount of time. So what they did was, and this happens with events all the time, boxing events. I've been to one when they've done this, is when they got the televised, they'll have the televised edition of the card, which may be about 2-3 fights. But before that, you'll have about anywhere between 2 to 5 fights that are not televised before, and maybe 2 to 5 fights after the fight is actually after the main event or televised portion is actually over. So what they did was they had the Adrian Broner versus Keith Thurman is the premiere of PBC on NBC. So even though Abner Mares versus Santos Reyes was a part of that, still that wasn't a PBC on NBC primetime fight. So what they did was to continue the coverage of the PBC event, because they only had that time slot from 8:30 to 11 p.m. What they did was they used the NBC Sports as an extension. As for example, if it's on Showtime or HBO, they have a time slot to talk about the fight after, the interview boxers, to get locker room interviews, things like that. To whereas in what they did with this is use the Abner Mares fight, who they wanted to showcase, as that time on NBC Sports. So if you only have regular television, I don't even know if they still just have regular television anymore. And I'm talking about when you just have just your basic public access and your national televised channels. But basically, what they did was use the NBC Sports as an extension, if that makes sense. Also, I did get to check out PBC on the app. It did come on about an hour or so late for some people, but basically you got to understand it's still the beginning, so they're working out all the kinks to everything. But overall, the event, the broadcast, like I said, I rated it 10 out of 10 because I understand that there is room for improvement, and I do understand that they're making a little too much of Adrian Broner's antics, if that makes sense. But let me say to Abner Mares. Now it looks like this, right? He's going to be fighting maybe a Leo Santa Cruz, a Johnny Gonzalez, or a Gary Russell Jr. Somewhere, basically that's what is set up for him to fight. Now, he weighed in at 127. His last three tune-up fights has been over 126 pounds. And I'm thinking, well, Leo Santa Cruz is the champion down at 122 pounds. So, I'm kind of confused. Wait a minute. No, yeah, at 122 pounds. So I'm thinking, well, you're going to go for Johnny Gonzalez and get your belt back, or a Gary Russell Jr. And I got Johnny Gonzalez and Gary Russell Jr. over Abner Mares. So I don't know. It's a tough situation to call, but I'm T-Street Controversy with RealCombatMedia.com. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe. Also visit Be Real TV, who basically is what I do, except over in the UK. Link is right down below. Also running a poll for Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Also, if you've seen that Mayweather versus Pacquiao ad, you know that it was only Mayweather, and I'm talking about doing the PBC or NBC event. My God, it was bone chilling. I'm talking about, I was like, oh. I posted it to my Instagram. All my social media stuff is right down below in the description box. But we're running a poll at RealCombatMedia.com. It's Floyd Mayweather by decision, Pacquiao by decision, Mayweather by KO, Pacquiao by KO. You know how polls work. So it's the second link right down in the description box. T-Street Controversy, T-Street Controversy Live.